Hello everyone and welcome to Heidi's Home. I have wanted to learn how to make challah bread for a long time. I've always thought it was a beautiful bread, and I've seen people make it, but I've just never broke down and actually made it, and it was one of the things on my list to learn how to do in 2024. And I couldn't believe the outcome of this bread. It was very, very simple. And I have a little bit of a history of making bread, so I kind of knew what my dough needed to look like and what it shouldn't look like. So I got a really excellent rise on my dough. So when it actually gets good and risen, as you can see here, then you know that you're pretty good, that you're going to have a pretty nice, outcome in the end. This was a very easy dough to work with, and you just section it into 3 parts, and then you kind of make like 3 ropes, and then just braid it like you would your hair, and allow it to rise again and give it a good egg wash, and bake it at 350 degrees for 30 minutes. And the way that you can tell that this bread is done is the fact that it gets really, really beautifully golden on the outside. And the actual recipe I will link down below in the description box for you all. So if you all want to make it, it's not a recipe that is entirely my own, but it is a recipe that I found online, and it seemed pretty simple, and I decided to give it a go. After I got it all braided, I was like, this is a very exquisite looking bread. Definitely would be something that I would whip up if I was going to have company, because I think people will be like, wow, you made this? Because it does take a little bit of time, but it's worth it, because not only is it beautiful, but it actually tasted absolutely amazing. Here it is fresh out of the oven. My house smells fantastic. And you're going to see me cut into it because I definitely want you to see the crumb that it, makes. It is beautiful. And I just was so proud of myself. One thing that I can check off this year that I wanted to do, and you all will be seeing me make this bread in the future. Now with my bread this evening, I'm just going to make a very simple pasta sauce. So I'm starting out with a pound of ground turkey. I'm adding some diced onion. My father-in-law gave me a pint of mushrooms that I'm going to slice up in the sauce. I'm going to use some garlic and some Italian seasoning. And once this meat gets good and cooked, I'm going to drain a little bit of the juices off, or the drippings off of the meat. And then I'm going to add a jar of spaghetti sauce. I've got my water good and boiling, and I'm going to add in a box of rotini noodles. I've also salted my water before adding in the pasta, and this is going to take about 15 minutes until al dente. Here is my bowl of pasta with my bread. I'm showing you once again how nice this bread came out. And we're going to eat dinner. So now I'm going to make some 7-layer bars, and you start by taking a 9x13 and placing it in the oven with a stick of butter, and you want to get that good and melted. Now to that butter you are going to add a 1.5 cups of graham cracker crumbs. Now I don't have a food processor, so I just broke up my graham crackers in a Ziploc bag, and I'm just placing them into the butter, and then I'm going to press it down and make a crust. So now I am measuring out a cup of semi-chocolate chips, and you just want to simply, distribute it on top of the graham cracker crust as evenly as possible. Now on top of your semi-chocolate chips, you want to add a cup of butterscotch chips. And you definitely do not want to leave out the butterscotch chips. I'm not a huge fan of butterscotch, but in this particular recipe, it really adds to it. It makes it really, really delicious. Now on top of my butterscotch chips, I am going to drizzle the sweetened condensed milk. This is an entire can, and it was kind of hard to pour, and I was afraid that it would go uneven, so I'm just using a spoon to drizzle it over the top. Now I'm adding on top of the condensed sweet milk, I am adding walnuts. You certainly can use pecans. I basically use any nuts that I have on hand, and I had the walnuts left over from Christmas, so I am just using walnuts, and it's about a cup. And I've already broken them up as much as they could get broke up because, like I said, I don't have a food processor. But it does the trick. And I'm just evenly distributing them over the top. And then after you add your walnuts, you're going to add in 1.33 cups of coconut. This is sweetened flaked coconut. And once you get that evenly distributed over the top, you're going to bake this in the oven at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes. And you will know this is done because it'll get nice and brown, especially around the edges. I will say and make this point that I really should have lined my pan with parchment paper before doing this. Some of the edges were a little hard to cut out of my pan, but next time that I make this, I will remember to put the parchment paper down because I think it would definitely make a difference with it sticking. But they did come out really good. They browned perfectly. You also need to remember to let them cool completely after they come out of the oven because you can't cut them when all of that chocolate is ooey gooey and melted. They baked up perfectly. They smelled the house up wonderfully again. And I just have to say that once I sliced them, I put them in an airtight container. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button.